This content is from the creator beta server. Yep, that's correct. The creator beta server. Me.
How? How? How?
I don't know.
Since this is going to be many people's first time seeing my content, I'm going to take a second to introduce myself. Hey, I'm JStern25. I do hardcore theory crafting, optimization, and gameplay with a focus on optimizing builds and themes. So the goal is to teach people the correct way to play and gear their characters, easily clear in-game content like shoot defense, whether it be your first clear or your millionth clear, and you just want to go a couple seconds faster. This video is going to have a general guide, first impression, some team rotation, optimizations and cancels, theoretical calcs, and practical showcases. First time ever. Let's start by talking about Miyabi. This is Miyabi. She's on the screen. Look at her. Got ears. They flick. She is Zenless's first Void Hunter. It's a fancy title, but what does it mean? It means she has a badge in her profile, and her S-rank engine has higher base attack than any other engine. Nice! Yeah, titles don't mean much to me. I need Miyabi to stand up on her own 2 feet. So I went in with pretty tempered expectations, a dose of skepticism, but some high quality hopium. I've been running the numbers. I was ready to see this in game, and I was ready to be proven wrong about some things. And honestly, yeah, there's some stuff we gotta talk about. But first, let's address the builds that are gonna be played in the footage shown. Since this might be your first time meeting me, hello, I have a problem. I am a chronic artifact fiend. I'm a drive disc maniac. If it could be good, I roll it. If it's not an upgrade, it's trash. Because of this habit, my builds on live, well, let's just say they're very built. So when I went into the content creator beta server, I put in the effort, nose to the grindstone, gambling my took us off. All the painstaking hard work to recreate builds of the same quality as you would expect in my day-to-day content. This was the result. I think it was worth it. I think it worked out. I think we're in a good enough place. All right? Yes, these builds are very good. That's just what I'm used to playing. I'm sorry. This is important context, in my opinion. I'm not trying to flex. I think it's important to mention. Now that we've got that disclaimer out of the way, let's talk about Miyabi. Miyabi is a Frost anomaly agent who does not primarily deal anomaly damage. This is an attack character who says they're anomaly. What is Frost? Frost is ice. Just straight up. Frost is ice. Frost is a variant of the ice anomaly. So what do I mean by that? All Frost damage is ice damage. It is affected by ice buffs, debuffs, resistances, weaknesses, and forms of resistance shred. The base Frost anomaly is also identical to ice, so it is freeze plus shatter, and the damage is the same in all ways but one. Frost has a stronger disorder modifier than, well, basically anything else, but we're gonna just say than shatter. So essentially, Frost is just a better ice element for an anomaly agent. The only downside to this is the only character who can build Frost Anomaly is Miyabi. You can play her with ice agents, and you can disorder your freeze with freeze, because it's a frost freeze, not an ice freeze. But she still benefits from all the ice buffs. I want to reiterate that because it's very important. And no, she cannot disorder off of herself. It would be funny, doesn't work that way. Miyabi also has a core passive that can trigger every 10 seconds when she applies frost to enemies. Fully applies frost to enemies. So when she freezes or shatters, she can trigger Frostburn Break or Frostburn damage. This is not anomaly damage. It's confusing because it appears on the screen like an anomaly. It's not anomaly damage. It is crit damage. This scales with her crit, unlike anomaly, and does not scale with her AP. Wait. Speaking pronunciation, Miyabi. I can do it. I'm gonna keep calling her Miyabi. I'm sorry, Miyabi. I want you to know that I know. I'm going to continue calling her Miyabi for shorthand, okay? Sorry. Comment about it, please. Anyway, her core mechanic is the Shimotsuki enhanced basic attack. This is fueled by her Fallen Frost stacks, or Fallen Frost. She gains Fallen Frost in a couple of the following ways. When entering combat, she has 3. When you trigger Frostfire Break, it is 1. When she uses her EX special, you get 2. This counts for both parts of her EX special, by the way, because it has an A and a B element to it. So if you EX twice in a row, you'll get 4 stacks. When you use her ultimate, you will get 3. And when Disorder is triggered by anyone in the party, including Miyabi herself, you will get 2. She needs to reach 6 stacks of Fallen Frost for her strongest enhanced basic attack, or her EB3, as I'm going to be calling it. Shimotsuki Charge level 3, or Enhanced Basic 3, or EB3. Cool? Cool. We're on the same page. This is going to be important. You're going to need to know what this is. It's very important. It's literally how she does damage. So what does the stack generation mean? It means when you enter, she'll have 3. How do you get from 3 to 6? You use EX once and you freeze an enemy. That's 6. How do we go from 2 to 6? We can use EX once, and then we can have a party member trigger Disorder, get 2. And if that party member is Yanagi, that could be 6. Or you could use another EX on Miyabi. As Miyabi is attacking, she will trigger she will activate Frost. If Frostfire Break is off cooldown, you'll be able to generate 1 stack from that. So that's how you can get back to 3 with EX plus Frostfire Break, or Disorder plus Frostfire Break, and then you can go up to 6 with Ultimate. There is an additional way to generate Frostfall stacks from her Mindscape Cinema level 2, which is every basic attack 5. We're going to generally be glossing over this because it doesn't do a ton on paper, but it is significant quality of life. We will get to it when we talk about Mindscape Cinema levels. So Miyabi's primary game plan is to manage her stacks by playing around teammates and her own anomaly application, in addition with her other stack generation methods. Do not overlook the stacks generated from Miyabi's ultimate and Miyabi's EX special. I'd argue they are more important than stack generation from Disorder. Do not hyperfixate on Disorder. There are ways to get around it. We'll get to it, but I'm throwing this out there now. One great tip while playing Miyabi, so this is a swap cancel, is while Miyabi is using her EB3 or charge level 3, so she's doing, she's building aura. So as Miyabi is doing this, you can swap off of Miyabi and she will continue to attack. The animation for Miyabi's EP3 is, well, it's very long. It's so long that you can actually use essentially every character's ultimate, and by the time their ultimate is done, Miyabi is barely finishing her animation. If you did not know, ultimates pause the timer. It also pauses the stun timer. So you are getting free frames by executing the strategy. So you are essentially adding free support damage while your Miyabi is losing 0 uptime. And you're actually benefiting Miyabi because you're applying more anomaly for her to get her Frostfall stuff. It's kind of just a win-win. One note and disclaimer that I want to give about this: be careful with quick assist ultimates, because if you some ultimates like Lucy's can be very quick, very fast. If you quick assist to Miyabi before she does the second hit of her EB3, because it is 2 hits. Okay, it's 2 attacks, it's a lot of multi-hits, whatever. If you quick assist to her before the second attack, it will be canceled and you will lose that damage. You don't want to do that. Miyabi has a anomaly buildup passive to help her apply Frost. So her anomaly buildup rate is increased 1-to-1 by her crit rate up to 80%. Just because I need to spell this out right now, because I do not want misinformation. I want you to be aware, just because Miyabi's anomaly buildup rate caps at 80% does not mean that crit rate past 80% does nothing or is bad in any way, shape, or form. Miyabi is an attack character in all ways but name. She needs to crit, okay? Crit rate is always good, up to 100%. And I want that to be established by the build that I was playing on the content creator server. I was playing 80 crit rate plus the set, which is 92 crit rate. That is not bad. That is only a good thing. It's very important that you crit. Miyabi's additional ability is how she generates Frostfall from Disorder. This is not an optional additional ability. It is mandatory. The activation conditionals for this are support agent or a faction agent, which means your teams will always have one of the following in version 1.4. Sokaku, Lucy, Cole, Yanagi. Sokaku is on the banner. Sokaku is also free from starting Shiyu defense. If you do not have Sokaku, you will have Sokaku. If you do not have Nicole, you haven't logged in yet. She is the first character the second character you get. The first one is Zambi. Don't sleep on Nicole. She's pretty cool. Miyabi's skill priority is very simple. It's her basic attack, her chain attack, EX, and then her assist and dodge. It's really simple why basic, chain, and EX are the important ones. Those are the ones you'll be using the most. Basic is her EB3, chain is her ultimate and her chain. You need to use them. Her EX is also just solid damage, and you do have to use it for Frostfall. Most of the three you should prioritize. I wouldn't normally do this. Triple Crowner. She does so much damage. Not Triple Crowner, okay? Triple Cage, because they're hamster cage passes in this game. Like, comment, subscribe. We're gonna try to do more Zenless content. More Genshin content is coming. Did you know most of you watching are not currently subscribed? You should subscribe. Drive discs. Before we actually talk about the sets, I want to talk about main stats, because there's a surprising amount to talk about. The choice between crit rate and damage will essentially just be down to your choice of engine. If you are using a crit damage slot 4, you can just as easily use an attack percent slot 4. You're going to use crit rate if you don't have enough crit rate. If you have enough crit rate, you're going to use crit damage. And if you have a good enough attack percent, you can use attack percent instead of crit damage, and it's not a huge damage difference. Sometimes it's even better, depending on your substats and your buffs. Slot 5 is, again, similarly very complicated, but also it's not complicated at all. I'm going to simplify this for you really, really easily. Ice percent, attack percent, or pen percent. Any of the three are fine. You farm her, you're going to be farming her new drive disc set. Level all of the three. Whatever's good is good, and you can use it. Yes, there are small damage differences on paper. Because substats are not guaranteed to be the same, it doesn't matter. Any of the three. Technically, pen percent is worse if you're stacking Depth Shred, or if you have M1. Whatever. Now for the complicated one. Slot 6. So slot 6 has two options. Attack percent and Anomaly Mastery. At face value, you may think Anomaly Mastery is better. I know I did. I was wrong. If you don't know how Anomaly Mastery works, I'm going to quickly explain it. Anomaly Mastery directly affects your build-up rate. So 30% Anomaly Mastery is an extra 30% Anomaly application. The formula is the Anomaly Mastery over 100 times build-up rate times Anomaly build-up resistance times the Anomaly application. I'm going to explain something very complicated. 30% build-up rate, 30% Anomaly application, because build-up rate is its own stat in the formula I specify. 30% Anomaly application is not necessarily giving you more Anomaly applications. And it's specifically not necessarily giving you Frostfall stacks. Miyabi has plenty of ways to generate Frostfall stacks, whether from herself or her own teammates. Specifically from her EX, Special, and Disorder. Miyabi's attacks apply a lot of Anomaly. Generally, her ult will trigger Frost. Ult plus some attacks will trigger Frost, to the point where Anomaly Mastery isn't exactly giving you more. This is a hot take, but it is true, in my opinion. And it was reflected in every practical test that I did. I was always doing more damage. I was always clearing faster with attack percent slot 6. Let's talk about the actual damage difference. In teams with no attack buffs, the difference in damage between Anomaly Mastery and attack percent slot 6 is 18% with her S rank engine. With attack buffs, such as Sokaku, this can be as low as 13%. It could also be lower if you have more attacks up. I mention this because doing potentially 18% more damage on every single hit is worth a lot. See if you can spot the difference. And you can see that the scores are just higher without Anomaly Mastery Slot 6. This is an extended combat trial, so if we were going to run out of resources, this would be the place. Technically, these are extreme examples, but they're practical examples. That being said, I don't want to completely disregard Anomaly Mastery Slot 6. I highly recommend having both available. If you get a good Anomaly Mastery Slot 6, roll it, hold on to it, use it if you think it's necessary. Just don't forget to also look for attack percent. Now we're going to talk about sets. Always use two-piece woodpecker. Crit rate's important. You need to crit. I'll say it again. You need to crit. This is a pretty misleading drive disc calc because it doesn't have Hormone Punk without its uptime. Hormone Punk without its uptime is below Polar Metal. It's quite bad. Since Miyabi can do damage out of stun and will do damage out of stun, especially if you want to play her with Yanagi, I do not like Hormone Punk at all. Blade and Song is the new drive disc set. Please farm it. This set gives 12 crit rate, 16 crit damage, another 30 crit damage. Should be farming this. It makes me be more consistent. It makes me do more damage. It's basically full uptime. It's brand new. That's just good. I'll also just mention it. The two-piece is crit damage, so it's relatively splashable. All right, now that we covered drive discs, we got to cover engines. Going in, I knew Miyabi's engine would be very strong. I did not expect the damage difference to be quite this drastic. Here's the table relative to Roaring Ride with the attack percent buff. Here's the table relative to her S rank engine, just so you have both points or both perspectives. Miyabi's house can be a 40% damage increase. It's very good. This is primarily because Miyabi's house is the only anomaly engine that gives crit. It gives crit rate and crit damage. Make sure you pull this engine before considering any of Miyabi's Mindscape Cinema levels. Here's a helpful reminder. Zenless's engine banner has a base drop chance for S rank items of 1%. There's also a 75-25. I am not someone who's willing to say this character needs a 5-star weapon or an S rank engine. That's not me. Miyabi's is very good and I strongly recommend it. It is not necessary in any way, shape, or form. As you'll see when we talk about teams, Miyabi just does a lot of damage to the point where even if you don't use the house on Miyabi, she's out damaging the rest of the cast. Spoiler alert, we'll get to it. So yes, it's not necessary in any way, shape, or form. It's just a lot of damage, or it's just a relatively large increase though. What is the next best in slot? It is the Fusion Compiler. Fusion Compiler is available in the shop if you want to get it there. You could also lose your 75-25 to it or get it from standard banner. This is the Grace engine. It gives pen percent and F attack percent. It's pretty straightforward. It gives anomaly proficiency too, doesn't matter. It gives pen ratio and F attack percent. As long as you have enough crit, it's good. Very similar story with Electro Lip Gloss. Gives damage percent and F attack percent. This is the Widsith. Let's go gambling! Oh dang it! Oh dang it! Oh dang it! I can't stop winning! This gives attack percent, and 1 out of 3 times it gives F attack percent. Besides Fusion Compiler, you could say this is the best free-to-play option because it's Gemini and the crit engines, but you have to get lucky. If anyone's on it, it's Roaring Ride. I call the Widsith, it's Roaring Ride. You can use crit engines like Deep Sea Visitor, Steel Cushion, or the new event engine, which is named Mercado Desire. They are fine. They are technically better than Weeping Gemini. They're not necessarily, but they're easier to build, which is important, especially if you're a newer player. Having crit rate is important. You need to crit. I'll say it again. You need to crit. It's not about build-up rate. You need to crit for damage. Now, let's talk teams. Miyabi's generally most recommendable team, in my opinion, is Yanagi and a Flex. Yanagi is a significant damage contributor, so while Miyabi herself might be doing less damage than other teams, Yanagi picks up the slack. The other thing I want to mention is that Yanagi teams just do the most damage outside of stun, period. Even without Miyabi, but with Miyabi especially so. So if you want to do damage without stunning the enemy, you're gonna play Yanagi. If you want to do damage in stun and you don't care about doing damage outside of stun, you don't need Yanagi at all. In fact, you could argue she's a damage loss, and I think I would. Okay, so I want to make sure that people understand Yanagi is not necessary for Miyabi. She is really only necessary for doing damage outside of stun. Essentially, every Miyabi team will be using EB3 twice in one stun window and an ult. Even teams without anomaly characters should be able to do this as long as they are insanely scuffed. I technically couldn't do it with Nicole Chingy. I tried, sorry. Damage outside of stun matters and is important. It can also give you better clears overall. You might even be able to kill an enemy before they're stunned. The enemy just straight up dies before being stunned, and that's pretty cool. Yeah, you can understand how this works, and you can understand that Rina is a very strong flex option because she directly increases Yanagi's shock damage while also buffing both characters. Other options to buff both characters are Nicole or Lucy. If you want to only buff one character, it is Sokaku, Von Lycon, or Sokaku or Von Lycon. Using Von also contributes to days buildup, which means you can stun quicker. But if you're playing Yanagi, really don't care about when you get to stun. You're just kind of doing your thing no matter what. And you're ideally not having interruption. So let's quickly talk about some of the highlights here. Sokaku is a really strong buffer for Miyabi's own damage. She gives 1000 attack, 20 damage bonus, some ice red shred. Like, the only downside is she doesn't buff Yanagi. She also has a very strong ultimate. Because this is version 1.4, all support characters got major buffs in this fact that they can now use their ultimates. This also buffs anomaly characters because anomaly ultimates just apply a lot of anomaly, and using ultimates is good. It stops the timer, it saves you time because animations can still play during stop time. He erases time, but stuff still happens in it. I don't understand how King Crimson works. How does it work? So I wanted to mention Sokaku. I mentioned Nicole because she is a grouper, but grouping is not actually very relevant for Miyabi. She just kind of hits the entire floor. It's very similar to Yanagi. Lucy buffs both, unlike conquerors to days. I want to specifically highlight Caesar and Rina because these are the characters with the most nuance. Caesar's shield does not give attack to characters attacking off-field. So by executing swap cancels with Miyabi, you are not getting the Caesar buff. Because of this, I would only recommend Caesar if you're okay with not doing swap cancels or you're not interested in doing swap cancels and you really want the shield, because the shield is very comfortable. Now I want to talk about Rina. Rina is an incredibly clunky character. The uptime from her buff is, well, to say it's inconvenient at Mindscape Cinema level 0, to the point where I genuinely forget to use it. I forget to re-up it. I go long stretches without re-upping it at M0. I think she's much more playable with Mindscape Cinema level 1. So if you're looking for advice on how to spend your standard selector, it's either going to be for Vaughn M0 or Rina M1 if you already have M0 and you want to play Rina and get a bit more convenience out of her. If you don't have Yanagi, I wouldn't recommend Rina at all, and I would say you should get Vaughn instead. That is my opinion on the standard banner selector. Unsolicited opinions about standard banner selector. Alert, alert, alert. Sorry. I felt the need to acknowledge it because I've gotten questions about it. If you don't have Yanagi, that's okay. You can play Miyabi around stun. Because Miyabi herself does a lot of damage relative to the rest of the cast, she can bulldoze content with raw damage in 2 EB3s and an ult. To demonstrate that, let me pull up some during stun damage calcs. This is Miyabi and Lighter Lucy. This is Ji Yen with Qingyi and Nicole. This is Harumasa with Qingyi Nicole doing it, the most optimized form of his combo I could find. Harumasa video coming soon. This is Sokaku Lycon. This does not factor in time to get to the stun. This does not factor damage outside of stun, which is why I'm not comparing it to Yanagi teams, because then you'd have to factor those things and it becomes a lot more complicated. TLDR, Miyabi does more damage than anyone else. If you're gonna play around stun and kill and wipe content, this is the character you're gonna do it with. When no one else is able to, Miyabi will be able to currently. Do not know how long this will last, but it currently makes teams that play around stun very strong and pretty competitive with teams that play around outside of stun. I had a lot of practical, great results with Lighter Lucy to the point where I am happy to recommend it. The same applies to Sokaku Lycon. Sokaku Lycon is also technically a free-to-play friendly team. Because Lycon is on the standard banner, you can get lucky and get him, or you can get it from your selector if you've been playing since 1.0. Your selector is available this update. I just said this, but we're saying it again because free-to-play friendly, okay? Got it? Cool. Sokaku's on the banner and free battle. Yeah, Miyabi can do a lot of damage. The way I've chosen to describe it is bulldozing, because I think that's correct. She also covers the entire arena with every attack. She's a bulldozer. She just does a lot of damage to the point where you can essentially ignore any aspect of Anomaly app gameplay, because she can get resources from her EX and her ult. Support ultimates refund energy, which gives maybe another EX, which is essentially the same as triggering a disorder. Kind of makes this whole video irrelevant and the whole kit description irrelevant, but you know what? Too far in, don't leave now. We got more to talk about. It's a good place to say like, comment, subscribe. We're gonna do more Zenless content. You should subscribe. Did you know most of you are not subscribed? Harumasa video soon. Leave any questions in the comments. I want to try to clarify as much as possible. Let's talk about Mindscape Cinema levels. Maybe his Mindscape Cinema levels are fine. She just kind of does a lot of damage to the point where, let's say 14% more damage from M1 is stronger than getting 30% on another character in terms of actual damage gain, not relative gain. So Miyabi's M1 or Mindscape Cinema level 1 is that her EB3 ignores 36% of enemy death. This itself is a 14% damage increase over a full rotation. So counting her EX and her ultimate, the English wording for this Mindscape Cinema level is very unhelpful. It says 20% anomaly buildup, but if you read Miyabi's text or core, her frost burn break or her frostbite, yeah, her frostbite, that's what we're gonna call it, already does this. It replaces 20% with 20% and does nothing. What this Mindscape Cinema level actually does is it removes the cooldown on the frostburn break damage. So you can now trigger frostburn break damage outside of the 10-second cooldown. That's why it removes frostburn, quotation marks. Scuffed translation, but that's what it actually does. Quick correction. When it says it removes the frostburn effect, it actually does remove the frostburn effect. It still replaces 20% with 20%. It allows Miyabi to trigger frostburn without triggering disorder, since she cannot trigger frostburn break or while enemies are frostbitten by her frost application. What M1 does is it removes that limitation. Is that a big deal? Nah, it's kind of nice. Miyabi's Mindscape Cinema level 2 does a lot of things. The things that it does are not necessarily easy to appraise on a spreadsheet. The first thing it does is it gives 15 crit rate. This is 10% by itself. The next thing it does is it gives her 30 damage percent on her basic attacks and her dodge counter. This does not do very much. It also gives her 1 Frostfall every basic 5. On paper, this does not do a ton because a lot of teams have ways to generate stacks. You are generally not going to be stranded at 5 for an extended period of time to the point where you miss damage. It can happen, and in these moments, it's very convenient to have. Think of this very similarly to Zen's Mindscape Cinema level 1, where it's not necessarily a damage increase, but it is very convenient. The other major convenience about this Mindscape Cinema level, Miyabi enters combat with 6 out of 6 Frostfall. So she can immediately EB3 without spending any of her resources. Mindscape Cinema level 3 is +2 to all skills. It maybe does scale damage, it's great. Mindscape Cinema level 4 is 30 damage percent for Frostburn Break, and 250 decibels when Frostburn Break is triggered. This is not a 30% multiplier, this is 30 damage percent, and this damage uses her damage percent already, so it's not, for Frostburn Break is also just not the most significant portion of her damage, but it can give you bigger screenshots. Mindscape Cinema level 5 is +2 to all skills. Mindscape Cinema level 6 is +30 damage percent. The actual effect is when you use EB3, she'll use all 3 EBs in a row. So she'll do charge level 3, charge level 2, and charge level 1. And it will do the damage from all of them, making this roughly a 30-40% damage increase. That's Miyabi. She's a bulldozer. What I want to do is at the end of the video is I want to show some footage that we just have the chance to put anywhere. So I want to show GU clears.
A better place for us to live. Sister, brother, believes a hammer, break the trigger.
As you can kind of see, Miyabi herself just does a lot of damage. This is Zenless's first Void Hunter, and I don't like the idea of a title meaning something, meaning a character is special. So I'm not going to imply that. But Miyabi is certainly very strong. If from now on, every character does Miyabi damage, the entire cast will be replaced in a year. That's what I mean when I say Miyabi she is a bulldozer. She does more damage than anyone else, inside a stun, outside a stun. Despite being limited, her teams are very flexible because of the inherent mechanics. Essentially, she is an attack character without being an attack character. And she also has free-to-play friendly options in the form of Nicole and Sokaku. She just does a lot of damage. It really impressed me. It really it kind of blew me away. I'm like, I log in, like, all right, I know what this is gonna look like. I know how much damage Miyabi does. You have no idea how much damage Miyabi does. You have no. Boom! It was an experience. A lot of that could be chalked up to immediately jumping onto a essentially max investment build, but that's the experience I wanted to have, and that's the context that I wanted to evaluate her from. Instead, because that's the context in which I play every other character with. What else do I have to say? Thank you very much for inviting me to participate in the content creator beta, and I hope everyone enjoys this video so we get to do more. It's a big step. It's a big step up for us, and a big improvement.